Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. In video number 191 I showed you a wonderful blitz game from the current world champion Magnus Carlsen, played in June 2017 in the Rapid and Blitz event in Leuven in Belgium. Video number 192 showed a wonderful blitz game from Garry Kasparov, the 13th world champion. He became world blitz champion also in Belgium, in Brussels, in 1987. This video is about another legend of the game, Bobby Fischer, world champion of Blitz in 1970. This unofficial World Blitz Championship was held in Herceg Novi in Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia, after the World against Soviet Union match where Fischer had beaten former world champion Tigran Petrosian on board 1 with 3 points to 1. In this Blitz event he scored 19 points out of 22 games, 17 wins, 4 draws and 1 loss. 4.5 points ahead of Misha Tal in the final standings. And these were the participants: Fischer, Tal, Korchnoi, Petrosian, Bronstein, Hort, Matulovic, Smyslov, Reshevsky, Ullman, Ivkov and Ostojic. 3 former world champions, Tal, Petrosian and Smyslov. Unfortunately, the reigning world champion Boris Spassky was not participating in the event. A nice quote from Misha Tal, who finished second in this tournament, about Bobby Fischer's play. His playing is of the same kind as in tournament games. Everything is simple, follows a simple pattern, logical and without any spectacular effects. He makes his moves quickly and practically without errors. Throughout the tournament I think he did not leave a single pawn on prise, while all the others managed to lose a whole set of pieces in his way. Fischer's result is very impressive. Despite all his whims, intransigence and eccentricity, Fischer loves chess, is fanatically devoted to the game and is not afraid of anyone. Nice words from Misha Tal. Here you can see the final results. Fischer with 19 out of 22. As you can see, he won all his mini matches apart from the one against Korchnoi, where he won 1 game and his only loss was also against Korchnoi. Tal, Korchnoi, Petrosian, Bronstein, and you can see the other participants on this list. Let's have a look at the game Fischer played against Viktor Korchnoi. Viktor Korchnoi white, Bobby Fischer black. It's April 1970. d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4 and d6. Fischer's playing his beloved King's Indian defense. We have the main line, bishop e2, castling from Fischer, knight f3, e5, Korchnoi castled, knight c6, d5, kicking the knight, knight back to e7 and knight d2. The nice thing is that Fischer commented on this game himself, so many of the notes that I give here are from Fischer, from handwritten notes. And he said here, this move apparently is considered best by the Russians. In the Turnier Mira in 1970, Petrosian played b4, knight h5, knight d2, knight f4 and a4. But, as Fischer said, without great success against Gliorich. It's interesting to note that Korchnoi played knight d2 again against Udovic in the Turnier Mira, so apparently he has an improvement in mind. So far, the comment from Bobby Fischer. And it's interesting that in the modern era, super grandmasters like Kramnik and Karl Gelfand have also played this move, knight d2. c5 from Fischer, and he says, I think this is a logical move. Black takes a tempo away from his kingside attack to slow down white's queenside initiative, which usually comes quite quickly with b4 and c5. Korchnoi played a3, knight e8, there comes b4, b6, rook b1 and f5. In this classical King's Indian, white wants to attack on the queen side, black wants to attack on the king side. And here Fischer says, having made all the necessary precautions on the queen side, black is now ready to attack on the king's flank. f3 from Korchnoi, f4 from Fischer, a4, g5, a5, both players advance on the flank where they want to attack. Rook f6, and here a mistake from Korchnoi, b takes c5. And Fischer writes, this is, as Korchnoi pointed out afterwards, a terrible mistake, because now it is impossible for white to get any initiative on the queen side, which means that Korchnoi now has to defend Fischer's attack on the king side. Fischer took on c5, knight b3, rook g6, bishop d2, and here Fischer comments that he could have played h5, but knight f6 is fine as well. That is the move played in the game. King h1, these are all typical King's Indian maneuvers. And Fischer plays g4 and comments that maybe more exact was h5. F takes g4 from Korchnoi, which is forced according to Fischer because of the threat g3. Well, let's have a look. If white, for example, plays bishop d3, then there is g3, and Fischer says white cannot play 21 h3 because of bishop takes h3. And that breaks open the defense around white's king, and you cannot take that bishop because of g2 check, forking king and rook, and black wins. So f takes g4 is forced according to Fischer. Fischer took back with the knight, and Korchnoi played rook f3. Fischer comments that bishop f3 was better with a more tenacious defense. After rook f3, Fischer played rook h6, h3, knight g6, king g1, knight f6, bishop e1, and Fischer is going to play around his g6 knight. He starts with knight h8, and this attacking maneuver is decisive. A knight move into the corner is always a spectacular thing to see. Rook d3, knight f7, knight f3, and knight g5. That knight has now traveled from g6 to h8 to f7 to g5. Queen e2 from Korchnoi, and Fischer says h4 would have held out a little longer. Fischer does not give any variations. The engine likes knight takes f3 check, and if you take back with the queen, then the engine likes moves like rook b8 or knight g4 or bishop g4. Those are the best continuations with an advantage for black. After the move from the game queen e2, Fischer played rook g6. King went to f1. Fischer says after king h2 there is queen d7 with a threat of taking on h3 with the knight. And after king f1, Fischer took on h3 with the knight anyway, sacrificing a piece. G takes, bishop takes check, king f2, and here Fischer writes, at this moment my hand hovered over white's pawn on e4, but at the last second I realized that 30 knight takes e4 check is answered by queen takes e4, and white wins. Very complicated position. Let's first look why queen takes e4 is indeed the best move. You cannot take with the bishop, because then you get checkmated. Queen h4 check, king f3, queen g4 check, king f2, queen g1 check, king f3, and bishop g4 is checkmate. Let's go back after Fischer's sacrifice knight takes e4 check, which he didn't play. You cannot take with the knight either, because then queen h4 check, knight g3, and queen takes g3 is checkmate. But now the move that Fischer saw, he says white wins after queen takes e4. The engine does not agree. The engine plays queen g5, followed by bishop f5, winning back material on that diagonal. The engine says black has enough compensation for the material deficit of 2 pieces. He's going to win some material back. But as said, Fischer did not play knight takes e4 at the last second. He realized that queen takes e4 is a strong reply. He played the much stronger knight g4 check. Korchnoi took, Fischer took with the bishop, and writes, here Korchnoi thought about a minute and a half, and not seeing a defense to the double threat of 32 bishop takes e2 and 32 queen h4 check, he resigned. It's funny to see that in this wonderful attacking game Fischer has not even played his queen yet. It's still on d8. Let's have a look why Korchnoi resigned. The queen is attacked. Let's play that queen to b2 for example. Then there is queen h4 check, as Fischer said, king f1, queen h1 check, king f2, and rook h6 is the best move, and black cannot do anything against rook h2 checkmate. Wonderful attacking game from the 11th world champion Bobby Fischer, played when he was not world champion yet in 1970. This completes a trilogy of wonderful blitz games from the legends of our game, Magnus Carlsen, Garry Kasparov and Bobby Fischer. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel. Please leave a comment, and if you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by using the share button on YouTube. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you very much for watching.